Chapter 8 talks about how to get customer feedback so that we can have a dialogue with our customers to find out from them what we're doing right and, more importantly, what we're doing wrong, so we can make improvements in the future to make corrections and, in turn, go back to that all-important goal of having a satisfied customer. Now, overall, the topic of feedback is crucial to any type of improvement, but the problem with feedback is a lot of us, most of us probably, don't like negative feedback. Negative feedback can be embarrassing, it can be hurtful, and most people try to avoid it. But there's so much to be gained from getting that type of feedback, because the only way we can find out if we're doing something wrong is by someone telling us. And that's a good thing, because once we find out what we're doing wrong, we can put corrections into place and stop doing things wrong. It's pretty simple, but really complicated, again, because of the negative repercussions we feel from negative feedback. Now, feedback is also a form of coaching, and the author of the textbook really talks about how feedback really is just that. It's coaching us. It can teach us how to be better at what we do, and a complaining customer can actually be our best friend. Calculating a Net Promoter Score, also known as NPS, is an excellent way to gain critical data about overall customer loyalty. It's really important to get to find ways to put the word out there, to get the word back on how customers feel. Now, customers have our companies have varying levels that the book talks about for commitment to feedback. There's reluctant, compliant, there's active listener, and there's metric conscious. And the book gives definitions of those three that you're going to want to pay attention to. Here's some interesting facts about feedback overall. Number one customer in 4 is dissatisfied with some aspect of a typical transaction, so 25%. Only 5% of dissatisfied customers will take their complaint to the company. The others, they do the worst thing possible. They take their business elsewhere. And finally, a dissatisfied customer, on average, will tell 12 other people about a company that provided poor service. Remember the very first chapter, we talked about word of mouth, both the positive word of mouth and the negative word of mouth. Now, for some organizations, increasing the number of complaints heard may be an effective strategy. Handling complaints from 2 or 3 dissatisfied people can save 30 or 40 possible defections from other customers. If the amount of feedback you're getting is actually low, there might be something preventing customers from speaking out. So you want to look for different ways for customers to provide feedback. Certainly one of the most popular, one of the most easiest, is through feedback cards. But they are relatively unproductive for what they result, but they are better than nothing. What matters in a feedback card is the design of the card, which will impact the quality and quantity of the feedback you'll get, how the questions are worded, how simple is it to fill out. Now, how we react to customer complaints will determine whether we get additional coaching from our customers. Now, the first reaction is critical. You want to avoid putting the customer on the defensive and simply accept the criticism that they're offering. So from the very get-go, how you react is important. So what are some other ways? We talk about feedback cards. What are some of the more beneficial, more successful ways of getting feedback? There are focus groups, explorer groups, surveys, and the one that you guys are familiar with is mystery shoppers. Focus groups gather unstructured observations and opinions from customers or potential customers. And the book goes through a lot of different do's and don'ts for conducting focus groups, that you want to read about that. Explorer groups is evaluating ways other companies do things. So going out, and it's kind of similar to mystery shopper, where you're going out to your competitor and seeing how business is being done there. Customer surveys, and there's a variety of different ways to conduct an actual survey, types of surveys, etc. They work best when the survey itself is carefully designed and administered to a random sample of customers. Repeated administration of a survey is useful just as long as the customer is not inconvenienced. You barrage a customer or take too much of their time, you might end up turning them off. And finally, talking about mystery shoppers, again, you've been doing mystery shoppers for this class. They use observational research techniques to reflect the kinds of experiences your customers have when doing business with you. The latest approach for this that the book talks about is using hidden video to gather particularly rather robust data. So, overall, the main thing to take from this chapter is the ability to better accept bad news when a customer brings it to you. Not to go on the defense about it, not to just dismiss the person as a complaining customer, but to listen to what the customer is saying when they have a complaint, and resolve it so you can stop it from happening down the road. Also, the main thing is to look for a variety of ways that you can offer ways for your customers to offer feedback, and don't just use it just for the sake of, don't put a survey out or a feedback form out just for the sake of putting a feedback form out, but you've got to use it, you've got to look at the data, and you've got to look at ways to implement it into the business. So that's this chapter in a nutshell. Go ahead and take the quiz when you're ready, and we'll see you for the next lecture.